This is Air Frying 101. Let's start at the very beginning. What is an air fryer? Well, it's a compact, cylindrical, countertop convection oven. It uses convection technology to create more energy. What does that mean? That means that basically convection technology blows super hot air around in here in a really compact, tight space where the food can't escape from that air. By doing that, it creates more energy and you get better browning on the outside of your foods, crispier exteriors. But because it cooks faster in this tight space, you keep your foods moist and tender on the inside. So it kind of replicates the effects you get when you deep fry foods, but it can do so much more. So I'm going to tell you all about this. First of all, I want to introduce you to two different models of air fryers. This is what it looks like, the kind that I'm using. There are many different kinds of ovens on the market these days that actually say they are air fryers, but this is the type that seems to be the most common. It has a cylinder with a drawer that pulls out from the front. That drawer contains a basket inside. Now on some models you'll see a basket that has mesh on the bottom, or like this one, perforations, so that the air can totally circulate around that food and even move in and outside of the basket through the slits in the side. Along with that drawer, of course, you're going to see a control panel. Some of the control panels are digital. They have preset buttons, but they also always have a way to set the time and the temperature manually. Or you see here, not digital, a manual dial display here that you can just turn to set the temperature and turn to set the time. An air fryer is a great little appliance to have because convection technology is tried and true. It's been used in bakeries forever, and here with a nice compact model that sits on your countertop, it provides you with a lot of benefits. First of all, it's fast. That means that it saves energy, it also saves you time, is more convenient, and it cooks foods faster, which means they don't dry out as much. It also is really safe to use, safer perhaps than deep frying where you have to bring a lot of oil to a high temperature. Here you don't have to use as much oil. In fact, you only use about 1 to 3 teaspoons of oil each time you use it. Now a common question is, what size air fryer should you get? So the smallest air fryer I've seen out there is about 2 quarts in size, and that's good for maybe 1 or 2 people. The next size up is between 3 and 4 quarts, and that could feed a family of 4 depending on what you're doing. Larger than that, going from 5 to maybe 8 quarts in size, is great for feeding a crowd, but remember you're going to sacrifice just a little bit of your counter space because they do keep getting bigger and bigger. But there are other kinds of air fryers out there as well. Things like air fryer ovens. They don't have a drawer like this, instead they have a door and they look much like the oven you might have in your kitchen. The recipes on this website can be used for both styles of air fryers, the ones with a drawer and the ones that are ovens. With the ones that are a drawer, you're going to shake that food to relocate it and turn it over. In the ovens, you're going to turn that food manually to make sure it cooks evenly. What kind of foods can you cook in an air fryer? Well, of course, everything that you would deep fry, you can cook in an air fryer, except for one thing, and that is liquid batters. Liquid batters like battered fish, tempura batters, that batter will drip through the basket and won't adhere to the food. So no wet batters. Anything that you would put in the oven, you can cook in an air fryer. And a lot of things that you actually saute on the stovetop or grill on the grill outside, you could cook in an air fryer. So let's get cooking. I'm going to do a really simple demo for you just to show you how to use this machine, and that is make some homemade French fries. The first thing you need to do is preheat your air fryer, but don't worry, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes, which is fantastic. So preheat it for about 2 to 3 minutes at 400 degrees. While that's preheating, it gives you a little time to prepare whatever it is you're going to cook. So maybe it's some vegetables you're going to put in the air fryer and you can cut them up at this point. What I've done over here with some simple French fries is taken potatoes, cut them into sticks, and then blanched them in boiling water for about 4 minutes. So once they've blanched, I've strained them, run some cold water over them, and now have dried them between 2 clean kitchen towels. Once your unit has preheated, simply remove that drawer and basket and put your food right inside. Now this is air frying, but you do need a little bit of oil. So whether you use a tablespoon or maybe just a teaspoon, or even just use a spritzing bottle like this, spritz that oil on the food. It needs that oil to get a little bit of color and of course for a little bit of flavor as well. So once that's spritzed, it's gonna go back into the air fryer, and now you have to set the unit. A lot of units have a lot of air fryer preset buttons, and you can decide whether those are useful for you or not. I prefer to set the temperature and time myself according to a cooking chart or according to a recipe. So I'm gonna set this for 400 degrees and 25 minutes. Now, every once in a while, I'm gonna come back to this unit and I'm gonna shake that basket around. That's just to rotate the fries so they cook more evenly. It's really important not to overcrowd that basket, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So now we're gonna come back to the air fryer every once in a while to shake the food around so that it cooks evenly. Here's a tip. Remove the basket from the drawer. Sometimes the drawer has fat down below, and if you toss everything together, you're just mixing the fat back in with the food. But in this case, it's just a lot easier and lighter to remove the basket and toss the basket of fries by itself without the drawer included. So we're gonna season these fries at the very end of cooking, and that's when they're gonna absorb that salt and really give us the great flavor without compromising the texture. When everything is done and your fries look perfect, they're ready to serve. Give them a try, but remember they're super hot. And then just pour them out into a nice serving vessel. Air fryers are really not just for fried snack foods. These are really good machines that can cook a lot of variety of foods really, really well. One thing it really excels at are steaks. Things that you would maybe put on the grill or in a saute pan. Same goes for pork chops, for fish fillets, for chicken breasts. But when you're cooking something like this that has a fat content already, you do not need to spray any more oil on it. Simply season it well with salt and pepper. And then put it into your preheated air fryer. So you're gonna preheat no matter what, and then you're gonna add your food. I put season side down, and then I'm gonna season the other side as well. Now the heating element in an air fryer is only at the top, and the fan blows that hot air down on the food. So it is important to come back halfway through the cooking time and turn this steak over. So let's set it for half of the cooking time so that we don't forget. Then the bell will go off and we'll know it's time to flip the steak over. We're gonna start this steak at 400 degrees. And I'm gonna set it for about 7 minutes. When that bell goes off, then we'll know to come back and flip that over. We'll cook it for probably a little less time on the second side, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, depending on how well you like your steak cooked. When the timer goes off, it's actually a great idea to leave the steak in the air fryer to rest for just a couple minutes. Steaks always need to rest before you cut into them, and that's a nice warm environment. Now you've got a beautiful steak that hasn't overcooked because it hasn't been in the air fryer for very long, so it's nice and juicy on the inside, absolutely succulent. And along with the fries, you've made yourself a really great meal with no splatter or mess around and a lot less oil. So the air fryer really helped you out. So let's talk about how to clean your air fryer. The nice thing is, the drawer and the basket can both completely be submerged in water if you like. Or you can put them in the dishwasher. Now there is a chance that you're gonna get some grease buildup on the inside of your basket here, and the best way to get rid of that is either with a baking soda and water paste, a vinegar solution, or try Barkeeper's Friend or BioClean. Those are two really good natural cleaners that help you. Now the upper element does have in some cases a mesh to prevent foods from flying into the element. If that gets greasy at all, just take a clean towel once the air fryer has cooled, a wet clean towel, and wipe the upside of the element this way. After that, the rest is easy. It's just wiping down the outside of the air fryer and it should remain pretty clean. There are a lot of accessories you can use in an air fryer. Because an air fryer is essentially an oven, any pan or item that can go into the oven can also go into the air fryer. So, little ceramic ramekins if you want to make mini soufflés, or little frittatas, you can use these in the air fryer as long as they're oven safe. Cake pans like this, made of metal. As long as they fit in your air fryer, they're oven safe, so they can go into the air fryer. Some of them even come with a handle like this so that they fit into the air fryer and you can remove them really easily. You'll also sometimes find the need for a rack in the air fryer, really just to elevate the food and get it closer to the elements so you can get better browning. So little tiny racks like this fit in really nicely. Silicone can also go into the air fryer. Just make sure that it's not protruding upwards and touching that element on the top. But otherwise, that's absolutely fine. Aluminum foil can go into your oven, so it can go into your air fryer. Same thing with parchment paper. Because it's oven safe, it's also air fryer safe. A lot of people like to use parchment paper on the bottom of their air fryer basket so that the cleanup is easier. That's going to inhibit the browning a little bit because it's going to collect some moisture. It's also really important, if you do want to do that, to poke holes in the parchment paper so that the grease can drip down through it. One thing that you cannot put in your air fryer is wax paper. That can't go in the oven, and it can't go in your air fryer. Here are my top air fryer tips for you. Tip number 1, don't overfill the basket. This is a basket that is too full. When it's too full like this, you're not going to get those fries cooked evenly, so it's better to do this in 2 batches and then put them all together at the end. This basket is filled appropriately. You really don't want much more than 1 layer of food if you want to cook it properly. Tip number 2 is to use a foil sling to help you get foods into and out of the air fryer. Take a piece of aluminum foil, fold it in half again, and then use this as a sling. Put your cake pan on top and then lift the flaps up to put this into and out of air fryer baskets. You can also do this with sandwiches or hoagie rolls. The food can go directly on the sling and then you can move it. That means you can do things like this. A deep dish pizza. Tip number 3 is when you're cooking fatty foods in the air fryer. If you're cooking bacon or meatballs or chicken wings, it's a good idea to take a little water and put that in the drawer underneath the food. By doing that, you'll stop the fat from dripping down and smoking while it cooks. Tip number 4 is to use toothpicks to pin down foods that otherwise might fly around your air fryer, like a piece of cheese on a burger or bread on a sandwich. Tip number 5 is to always remember to remove the basket from the drawer before you dump out the food. The reason for that is right down here below. Often you'll get a lot of grease at the bottom of the drawer, and you have to drain that out. If you dump the basket and the grease at the same time, that grease is all over your food. Tip number 6 is actually the opposite of tip number 5. Sometimes when you're cooking, you have marinades that drip down into the bottom basket. Those marinades can be used to moisten the food again or serve as a sauce. Tip number 7, remember to pull your air fryer away from the wall when you're using it. Back here there's a vent which blows hot air away from the air fryer. You don't want that right up against the back of your cabinet wall. Don't put anything on top of the air fryer either, because this is where the air gets pulled into the air fryer and it must be left open. For more tips on air frying, visit my tips page in the air fryer section of the cooking school right here. So you can see how an air fryer can really help simplify your life in the kitchen. It's fast, it's compact, it makes great food, and you know what? It's really fun to use and play with. If you'd like more information on air frying, read the article below this video. I also have articles in the cooking school on converting recipes from stovetop and oven, and cooking charts for all kinds of food to help you cook whatever it is you want in your air fryer. For recipes, go to the recipe section on the website. My best collections, of course, are in my cookbooks, which you'll find in the shop. If you have any questions or comments on this video, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you for another cooking class really soon.